Here at Don Asby's metalworking studio. He's a blacksmith, artist, metal fabricator, among other things. He's got a really interesting project that he thought you guys would be interested in. It has to do with his milling machine. And, well, let me just introduce you to him right here. So here's Don
Hello,
and his machine. Yeah.
I have an Induma S1 milling machine, and not quite a year ago I was doing a little bit of work with it, and the belt broke, and it just looks like a standard belt from a Bridgeport. This is a Bridgeport based design, and I just figured, well, just go out and get a new timing belt for it. And I had the owner's manual that had the specifics on the belt, and after months and months of searching, I found that there were no belts available, at least that I could find. So what that belt helps me do, or permits the operation of your back gear on this machine, which again is very similar to the Bridgeport method. And by changing these settings here and engaging, there is an engagement through driving the belt to a gear reduction that makes it much slower so that you can do heavier work. So I found a workaround that involved using a self-sealing tape that I found at Harbor Freight, and the number is 61414 for the self-bonding super tape. And it is a rubbery tape that only seems to stick to itself. And my first attempt had me just wrapping it around the spindle. As you will see, I'm going to take this apart and you will see how it's set up. Unfortunately, my first attempts didn't work out real well. It worked well enough to use it, but I had a lot of stretching problems with it. And so after some thought, I decided what I needed to do was to reinforce it with fiberglass tape. And what I had laying around the studio was some fiberglass drywall tape it's got a little bit of sticky on one side, and I thought, well, that's not going to hurt anything. It'll help me wrap in various layers. So I would do a layer of the rubber and a layer of tape and then another layer of rubber, and I put it all back together and ran it for several months, and it works really well, but I'm noticing that I need just a little bit more thickness to engage the back gear wheel so that it will not skip. And so what I'm going to do today is show you how I take this off and quickly bring it down to my table here and can wrap this thing around. I'm just going to add one layer to it because I'm probably within a 16th of an inch of having the proper thickness to drive back gear on this. Now, I realize that this is not an optimum solution to this problem, but it is a workaround that does seem to provide my ability to mill in back gear. But ultimately, I would hope that this video would find somebody out there watching this video say, oh, well, I've got one on a dusty corner of my shop, and this might be the only way I have of finding a real live timing belt.
Do you remember the specs on that?
Yes, I do. If well, I don't have them right here.
We'll get it on here so you guys can help him out.
We're going to get the specs on this. It's a 42 tooth. I believe it's 14 millimeter.
Yeah.
I think it's 14 millimeter tooth centers, and it is a 1.25 inches wide. So we'll verify that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my mounting bolts. These are also the bolts that allow you to tension the V-belt, drive belt. And I'll pull this forward here, and we're going to drop the belt down to disengage it from the motor. I'm going to pull this other one off on this side. Whoa! By pulling upward. And thank you, UV. This will come up here, and I've got a little platform set up in the back area here to allow that to rest safely. And then to take these out. These are the housing bolts for the belt housing.
So Don, can you tell me how you came about to own this Induma?
This was a milling machine that was used in a saw sharpening shop, and UV and I were working for a furniture maker who has his saw blade sharpened at this shop, and he found this when he was going to pick up some saw blades. And so Martin Goebel of Goebel and Company Furniture in St. Louis sent me a photograph of this and wanted to know if I would be interested in this machine. So I picked up this machine, and it was fairly dirty. We had to do a lot of work on it and needed some bearing work, but it is a very, very nicely made milling machine. And it was just really sad when I realized that I couldn't find the belt for it, because UV and I had put a lot of work into cleaning this thing up.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to just lift this over the shaft, and it's cast aluminum. It's not extremely heavy, so it's manageable. I didn't want to do anything else to the machine because I've got it all trammed in. It's all set nicely, and I didn't want to find that I'd have to redo everything if I pivoted this. A lot of people will take and change their belts by way of turning this over on its side, and it's a little bit easier to work on that way, but I've figured out how to do it relatively easy without messing with any of the adjustments. So here is the belt that I had made with, you can see traces of the reinforcing right here. I have
fiberglass tape.
The fiberglass tape. There are probably about 6 or 8 wraps of the tape within the various wraps of the rubber sealing tape.
So there would be negative teeth here.
That's correct. Yes.
For the belt.
Yes.
To engage.
Yeah, we're going. They're basically like splines, and what they do is those splines are. We're looking for that belt. The teeth on the timing belt engage with this gear here that is back gear. Mm-hmm. And UV, we seem to have...
Oh, it's behind.
Oh, there it is, yes. So this is what is going on. That what I wrapped is the smaller side of this gear, this timing belt arrangement right up here. And so I'm just basically wrapping that rubber tape around the smaller wheel to where it is increasing the diameter of this in order to engage that larger wheel. But over the months, I noticed that I just should have gone a little bit thicker on this wheel. And so my intent is I'm going to clean this with some acetone to get any grease residue off of it and let it dry. And then I'll be able to pull this around. This tape will adhere to it. Actually, it's pretty sticky right now, so it might work without the acetone. But I'm going to go ahead and put the acetone on it anyway. I just want to make sure that's absolutely clean. And then we're going to put the Harbor Freight part number 61414 tape around there. I'm going to pull it pretty tight so that it stretches and pulls itself in to help fuse between the two layers, between the fiberglass, and bond also with what is already there. So if you will excuse me a moment.
Hey, let's take a quick peek around Don's shop while we're waiting for Don here. So, under this blanket is a 260-pound power hammer that Don made himself. It's called the Smack-O-Matic. We'll look at that one day. This is his forging area, or this the area with his forges. And this is another homemade by someone else. 60-pound hammer called pig ears. I don't know if you can see those pig ears up there. Got a little giant. Let's get back to what Don is doing though.
Okay, so I'm getting this good and clean with the acetone, and I'm going to set this up like this and put a clamp on it here. So what I can do is wrap this, use that in its stationary position to get good even tension on this. And that seems to be sticking very nicely. When I came up with this, I was just kind of going on a wing and a prayer, hoping that it would work. And it was rather surprising that it did. They say that a good blacksmith can get himself out of all kinds of trouble, and I was hoping that that was the case. Now I'm putting a bit of tension on it. I don't want to break the tape as I apply this. It's kind of hard to get it because this tape does not stick to anything. You have to, it only sticks to itself. So you got your first roll around there is a little bit.
Hold it for you if you want.
I think I'm all right. It's a little bit dicey while you try to negotiate that first wrap. But once you get it contacting where you started, then you're home free. And so I don't need to do a whole lot of layering here. I'm just going to basically cover the tape the fiberglass tape that you see, and try to pull it tight. The reason I'm wanting to pull it tight is so that it just kind of sucks itself into and between the fibers of the fiberglass tape, and hopefully through the pressure exerted on this roll, that it will, the pressure engaging the larger toothed wheel will help everything bond in much the same way that a belted tire, a fiberglass belted tire is bonding where the fiberglass becomes one with the rubber. And so that, I am hoping, will result in something that isn't built up too much. I'll be able to get it put down onto the machine without pulling off any of the rubber that I just placed on there. I'm just winging it here. There is really nothing in the owner's manual that tells me how to do this. I'm making it up as I go. But I can tell you it will work, at least for a while. This will work, and I'll be able to keep it going. It only takes about an hour to fix, until somebody out there says, oh, I've got a box of those Induma belts. At least that's what I'm hoping anyway. Now I'm going to line that shaft up with that, and it's going on. Okay, so you can see right back in here, it's got a nice snug fit, and it went on just as I had hoped it would. And I'm going to go ahead and put those bolts in to fasten the housing. I would like to have a Bridgeport machine at some point, but from what I gather, there really isn't much difference between this and a Bridgeport, other than the fact that the parts, though they look the same, they are not interchangeable. The parts are metric, but the specifications for that timing belt list it as 1.25 inch width, and that I find very odd, especially given the fact that the tooth pitch is metric. So I'm going to go ahead and the belt. Now, in the case of where I'm running my speed setting, I've got this on the slowest speed because I've employed a digital or electronic VFD that enables me to do a pot, or I guess a potentiometer speed setting on this, and it makes it really handy because you don't have to change the belt speeds. Once you have that VFD set properly, they take a fair amount of knowledge to know how to program them for your specific needs. But what I'm told is that VFD is allowing you to set your speed electronically and have it working at slow speeds at full torque potential. Now that's what I've been told, and I haven't had any problems with it. So seems like it does work that way. But it's a very elegant system because you don't have to take time to change belts, and especially in the instance where I have completely changed the back gear ratio by doing this workaround. My advice to anybody that's looking at a non-Bridgeport machine is to just be aware that Bridgeport you can get parts for pretty easy. I'd say anything else, be aware that you may have these problems. I mean, I paid what I thought was a great price for this thing, but you know, when you can't get a part to fix something, what seemed like a bargain, you've got, you know, you could end up with a tremendously beautiful boat anchor or mooring weight. So just be aware that the imports like an Induma would not have the same value, even though it could be in beautifully pristine shape. Okay, so here's the potentiometer in this housing, and I've got it set on this magnet because if I want to change angles or shift things around, I want this thing removable. And so I just have it magnetic. I've got to turn on the VFD. These are fairly delicate electronic devices, so I like to unplug it when I'm not using it. So I'm going to turn that on. I've got that in a housing that has an auxiliary blower on it. This device has a blower in it, so I've got an additional blower, and I've got a filter at the bottom so that we can draw clean air that passes through the device. And then that is showing 52 point, well, just about 52 cycles, and that is variable by the adjustment of the potentiometer. You can see I've got it up to 90, which is the full potentiometer setting. It will actually go up to 400 cycles. But I'm going to just start out slow. We're going to set it at 26, and we're going to turn this thing on. It's kind of noisy. That's a lot of the fact that we're not running the belt. The belt is quieter than this one is. But it did work. It made the you can see it'll go pretty slow, and then but I've got it set now with the gear change. I've disengaged back gear, and I have dropped the dogs in to engage the shaft now, and so we will be functioning on high speed. So this is, that's how fast it'll go at 90 cycles per second. You can see the variation as I increase the position of the potentiometer. In conclusion, it's always good to find a way to work around problems that crop up, and this is my approach to losing the belt. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out that's different, for one thing, that my approach will completely change all of the ratios in back gear, because we're just changing them by increasing the diameter of the small wheel that's driving the back gear. The other thing to note is that I've got a clockwise rotation in my high range, but when I go to back gear, it will also maintain that clockwise rotation. That rotation hasn't changed, and that's because the belt will be driving it. It will be driving the back gear in the opposite direction, whereas having the rubber wheel engaging it, it's going to keep everything going in the same direction. So that is it in a nutshell. Good luck, and if anybody knows of one of these Induma belts out there, let me know.
All right, gang. Well, hey, that's a quick visit. Well, not. All right, gang.
It was a visit.
Yeah, so that's us hanging out with Don Asby at his shop, and keep an eye out for more videos with Don here. There's a lot to share with you guys. Don's obviously got a lot of knowledge to share, and he's a great teacher, so keep a lookout for that. And like always, peace.